All right, it is officially 4 o'clock. Call this meeting to order. If I could ask Sherry to do our invocation for us.
Sure. Let's pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for such beautiful weather that we've had lately. We thank you for your mercies that are new every day. And we also give you thanks that we have the privilege of serving our city and serving you in this way. God, we ask for your wisdom to guide us in our conversation today. And Lord, we just continue to ask you to bless us as we seek the peace and the prosperity of our city. In Christ Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sherry.
Give this to Kenneth.
Here, Kenneth, do you need that?
Oh, that'd be perfect. Save my eyesight a little bit. All right, item number 1 on the agenda is the Visitors and Citizens Forum. Any citizen with business not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the Economic Improvement Corporation. No deliberation or action can be taken on these items because the Open Meetings Act requires an item be posted on an agenda 72 hours before the meeting. Visitors are asked to limit their presentation to 3 minutes. Do I have any visitors that would like to speak? All right, we don't have any, so we'll move on to item number 2, which is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 16th, 2017. That is in your packet. I would entertain a motion to approve.
Kenneth, we need to make one correction.
Okay.
Under, and I don't have it in front of me, but under 4A, there were 2 votes taken, and I voted, the first motion was 5-1, and I voted against.
Right.
And Mr. Baruti voted for. That's the only correction that I have.
Yeah, it lists me as saying that I voted against.
I want to give George credit for voting yes.
Did we get that correction?
I did. Thank you.
And so I guess I would want to ask, since we're in that vote situation, that's more of a legal issue. Do we accept that as our memory, or do we go back and make sure that's really how it happened, or how does that?
I checked the video.
work? Okay.
I'm all right with that. If you will vote to approve them as with that change as amended, I will.
Okay.
I'll make that change.
All right. I've never had someone amend the vote part of it, so I don't know how that legally works. That's why.
Well,
I think
I
that's
mean,
important.
you're to vote on this. You're agreeing with Mr. Naaman that that's how it happened, and I guess Mr. Baruti's nodding his head, so you have 2 people saying that that's the way it worked.
Okay.
And I can always go back and watch it to
Yeah,
confirm that.
all you can see is me. You can't see him.
Yeah, it's
So you
kind of
get-
hard.
You see
Yeah.
me raise my hand, but you
It
don't.
was. It's
Yeah,
at
because
the,
I don't remember
It's
at
at
all.
the
so that's why I'm
31-minute mark. Okay? Trust me.
Not that I don't believe you. I just don't. I want to make sure we do it right. That's all. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're going along what Mr. Naaman
Okay.
is suggesting, and I think that's appropriate.
That would be the right way to do it. Okay, very good. All right, so we had a motion on the floor to approve them as they're written, and so now we have an amendment to that. So I guess we didn't quite get to a second yet where we would have made that work. So let's, would you like to?
I move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Okay,
Second it.
motion to approve as amended, second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Very good. Motion passes. All right, number 3, or item number 3A, is the report on our monthly financials for October of 2017.
Good afternoon. On your operating fund, the opening balance of cash was $2,272,941. You had income in the month of October of $281,958, with expenses of $101,561, leaving you an ending balance of $2,453,337. In your projects fund, you had a beginning cash balance of $2,001,000, no income or no expense during the month, leaving your balance at $2,001,000. On the next page is a breakdown of your budget, which shows your annual budget, the expenses during the month of October, your year-to-date, and your remaining balances. And on the following page It has the breakdown of your sales tax for the month of October compared to last year at 4.77 over last year, and you're at 0.90 budget to actual. In the next bracket down there is your committed project funding summary, and that is money that's being held in your capital projects fund until projects do begin, and they'll be transferred over to the operating projects funds. The third section down there is your cash and investment, where they're held and how much is in each fund. And at the very bottom is projects that's ongoing by the city that EIC has participated in, and the projects are not completed yet. And that's all I have.
Very good. One question on the sales tax revenue analysis, and I probably ask this every time. So when we projected these numbers, did we project an increase?
Yes, we did.
So this 4.77% is above the projected increase.
We took
Or is it
last
the
year's, and that is compared to last year at the same time period.
Okay, so do you know what we projected as far as the increase
It's
would be?
about a 3.5%
So it's
year to
even
date.
more than the
So it'll fluctuate during the year, no matter on the timing of when the sales tax is paid by the vendor to the state and back to us.
All right.
And the October collections were the August sales
Very good.
locally.
All right.
And I got a question too on that, the same grid. What, is it that annual projection that we just front load in November and December? And why is the budget 18 different than the actual 17 only for the first 3
Well,
months?
budget, we're just projecting what we're gonna receive that month. Our software looks at our history and it projects what they think we're gonna receive these next few months, and I had just plugged it into those.
Okay, so, but we haven't sort of projected up on any of the other months. Is that just because we haven't gotten to them? You see what I'm saying?
The system just
Yeah.
took it and kinda spread it through there.
Okay.
I can take that off for
No,
future, so it's not
no,
confusion.
I just was wondering. It's okay.
We upgraded our software this summer, and when it did, it took last year's history and just kinda rolled all that forward, and it shows up on our reports now.
Is this that Tyler software? Is this the Tyler software you're talking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very good. Good questions. Any other questions for Ms. Yarborough?
I don't have any.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sandra.
Yes.
Whoop. All right, let's move on to item 3B, which is our projects update. EA?
Good afternoon. I've got 4 key projects to update you guys on. Reuse distribution mains remains on track. We're making progress getting those down. We've completed most of the extension along Holdsworth. Legion is wrapping up. We are uncovering smaller sections of that, shortening up the time periods that you've got open trench cut. We are progressing and should be crossing the river here shortly, so that's really kind of the next big milestone on that project. River Trail West, happy and pleased to let you guys know that we did get quality bids in under budget, actually, and that was awarded by council in November, so we are moving forward. We'll be scheduling a project meeting with that contractor here soon and getting that project going. So exciting to be at this point. Kerrville Sports Complex, we are basically all done. We've got a few punch list items, but as you guys may have seen in the paper, we actually hosted a kind of a soft opening tournament here a couple weeks ago. That went really well. We had over 250 participants visiting town from all over the state, even a few folks from Oklahoma and Louisiana. So a select team baseball that was kind of all over everywhere, coming in, bringing sales tax dollars and revenues to the community of Kerrville. So that's an exciting element.
Great.
In addition, we've also had a little bit of a soft opening over on the soccer side. Council authorized a contract with OLH to host their home soccer games. So we've had a few soccer games out there already. So helping us get it tweaked and get it right so we can go into the spring full force.
Outstanding.
Tennis center improvements, as you guys know, we've kicked that process as far as getting stakeholder input. We had a large community stakeholder input session here the week right before Thanksgiving, and so we've taken that feedback. We've still got the online questionnaire out there for folks that want to continue to participate in that way, but the contractors are working through kind of summarizing all that information and getting a good plan put together. Be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
All right. Any update on the River Trail?
Yes, sir. River Trail West was the one that we had the quality contracts that came in. So we'll be scheduling that project meeting with that contractor here in the next, probably the next month or so, get that kicked off and get a good game plan for construction.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Does DBAT have does their 2-year grace begin already, or when does that start?
No, sir. That will start officially once we've officially handed the building over to them. We do have a few minor elements. That's a little bit different than the official sports complex project, which was a different contractor. So that 24-month period will likely start in the next month or so.
So the CO hasn't been done for the DBAT building?
That's correct.
All right.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, EA. All right, let's move on to item number 4A, which is a contract with the City of Kerrville for administrative services. At our October meeting, we had come to this group and worked through a temporary contract. It was a 2-month contract that would give us some time to cause for several revisions to be made to the full annual administrative services contract between the EIC and the City of Kerrville. We have done that and provided the red lines to you, centered mostly around the ability to hire outside legal counsel if needed, and the budgetary approval mechanisms for that. We've worked with the city attorney to include those items within Article 1, Section B. And then in addition to that, have also, Sandra's gone through and done some analysis with assistance from the various departments in being able to break down some of the rough expenses that are usually, and of course that varies from year to year, but typical of support for the EIC. Be happy to answer any questions the group may have. So I just have one, and it's more of a question of maybe where it goes, but looks like the lion's share of what the breakdown is our engineering costs. And so is that specific to project engineering for EIC funded projects, or is it something else? I think, really there's kind of two main things, and it's a little bit difficult to break down. I would say the day-to-day support of EIC and the economic development function is primarily between administration and legal and finance. Okay. Certainly on the project aspect of it, the lion's share, that's going to be both with supervision of myself of really the engineering department and their project management. But there's elements in here within parks and other areas that weren't even encapsulated within that. Oh, okay. Well, and where I was headed with that would it not be appropriate for us to push that cost onto each project? We certainly could, assess some type of subcharge project by project. It's just not the way this administrative services contract was contemplated. And this was more, I think, when it was in its original inception, was more based on the typical annual services provided for just day-to-day economic development.
Yeah, that's a common practice for cities to do that, even when they're selling bonds, to have an engineering services charge back. And oftentimes, as you know, we'll hire outside engineers, but some cities do that internally and they just charge it back. But I think the philosophy has been, as I've talked to others, is that we want to make as much money possible for the projects themselves. And if the general fund ends up picking up some costs in kind, then so be it. At the end of the day, we get more project. But that's a policy decision that you all can make at your level.
Sure.
When somebody comes to KEDC or to the city with an idea for a project, let's say before we even see it, is there engineering work done, prior to us, city engineering work done prior to us even seeing the deal come through?
Not city, that would be atypical. More, maybe like a private developer, if they're going to be coming to ask you for funding, then they would have done some engineering themselves
Okay.
on their own dime.
So we don't do anything until we give an okay to
Right.
proceed or look
Yeah,
at
we
it?
don't,
Yeah.
we may have done some conceptual things or got some estimating from just calling around, that sort of thing. Or maybe ran some numbers ourselves based upon recent bids, just so we would have an idea about what the cost would be.
Thank you.
I got sort of a house cleaning sort of question. I didn't pay attention to this when we did the interim agreement to start with, but it seems a little bit odd that the date range that we're using for the term. I kind of understand why we picked the October 25th as the starting date, because I believe the city council meeting was the 24th or something like that, but doesn't that leave us a gap and kind of a weird way of paying? Shouldn't it really just be October 1st through November 30th as a 60-day interim?
So the interim contract which was already approved and authorized, was from October 25th to December 23rd. So essentially, this one just picks up from the 24th and then takes it out to the remainder of the fiscal year and takes the balance that wasn't allocated with that interim contract and just spreads it out across those months.
Okay, but you see what I'm asking, though?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's an imperfect cleanup, no doubt.
yeah. Because we paid in October anyways, right? Without a contract, essentially?
Well, once both were authorized by both bodies, yes, sir.
Yeah.
But that would have happened anyway.
Right, but it makes this time frame date, as it's written, the continuation agreement is overpaying for that time period because we've done this with these dates. So just so everybody understands what we're doing is sloppy and we're just going to move forward, I'm okay with that.
So if we had not ever had this conversation and we had at our last meeting approved the contract, it would have had to have gone to the next city council meeting to get affirmed, right?
Yeah. Sandra, I don't know, you
Which
can
would have
clarify, I
followed
don't know,
up-
was there a payment
fallen
actually
under
even
that
made
same-
in the October time frame?
Yes,
Yes.
October and November.
Okay.
So our October 1st agreement, if everything had remained the same, would not have been approved until past that.
Yes, sir. Probably
So-
that next council meeting would have been October 12th, I think.
And what he's saying is that we have a contract that was signed on October 24th
I believe so, yes, sir.
and approved.
Mhm.
So are you basically saying that the contract that expired on September 30th extended until council approved it automatically, or
Yeah, there would have been.
there is a gap?
Well, there would have been 2 months of service that totaled for a payment of $16,700.
Right.
$16,700 from that October 24th period to the end of December. This contract won't be approved by the council until December 12th. It will be effective on December 24th and go through the remainder of the fiscal year. And we'll take that remainder element of $83,300 and make that whole of $100,000.
So ultimately, I think the bottom line question is, cumulatively, will we pay 100 grand regardless?
Between those
For
two
the same
contracts.
period.
So we're
That's
not,
right.
okay.
That's right.
Okay. I just had one quick question. I think this looks really great, and I like the extra, clarification on some of the wording that's been added. The one question I have is, and I don't know if this is a question for you, Mike. Under B, the legal services paragraph, it's the sentence beginning where I'm looking at the red line.
Okay.
But what previously said, notwithstanding this paragraph, but now with the red line in here says, where a conflict exists, EIC shall retain the right to hire counsel of its own choice at EIC expense, and it continues. Previously, the contract read, notwithstanding this paragraph, EIC shall at all times retain the right to hire counsel of its own choice at EIC expense. So is there a reason that we needed to remove the language of shall at all times? and insert the language where a conflict exists?
Well, certainly it narrows this,
Right.
the authority for you all to hire an attorney. I can't remember, I was trying to think today where I got some of this language. I mean, I was just trying to capture what I heard from this body and council and build that into the agreement, build that into the amendments. And so that's, that's kind
Okay.
of what I've ended up with, but
So there was no other reason that needed to be pulled out
no.
specifically, okay?
All right, any other conversation?
Yeah, I got a couple questions about the legal services thing. In looking at it, when we left our meeting, I understood what we were doing, but just for clarification, I'd like to make sure we all understand what we're doing. Just so everybody understands, Mr. Naaman pointed it out, people seemed to be concerned about personal liability on this board and this board as a whole. No matter what we change, just so everybody's clear, that was never an issue, right, Mr. Hayes? We basically all were covered liability. We had protection legally by the insurance over the boards of the
I
city.
believe you
correct?
all have errors and
Okay.
omissions.
And then it was suggested that if there's some legal conflict between city and the EIC might need the ability to obtain outside counsel. And when I first heard it, okay, that seemed to make sense. But could somebody explain to me a conflict that might arise where we as a board would see that as a conflict necessary for outside counsel?
Well, I think it's that the attorney has to come to the president to say there might be a conflict, right? The way it's written,
I understand, but there was a fear of the conflict. And
but not the other way around.
Okay, still, what would be a scenario where that would be a conflict that existed? Because as I understand it, I could be wrong, but the contract, the legal services in the contract is not actually protection for this board. It's actually legal services for things like contracts that we create for projects we create. Is that not correct?
So you have an opinion that it should be this way, and another member of the same board thinks it should be this way, whatever that would be. And our legal counsel has to side with you because you are on the city council.
Okay, that's not actually correct, I don't believe. Because what we're talking about a legal opinion, and we're talking about people here. He's not going to be coming into play as far as clarifying city council as I sit here versus EIC as I sit here. He's giving legal counsel to this board. So what would be a conflict that would exist or ever arise where we as a board would seek outside counsel and do that? What would be a conflict that would occur?
Remember that this was here before, well, it's been here for a couple of years now, where it gives me the authority to withdraw from representing EIC I think the simple example, or a simple example would be if council has, told me, pursuant to some action that they don't want to enter into some contract, and you all were to take that up, this would give me the authority to withdraw and tell you all that. I wouldn't represent you at that point. This isn't an issue unique to Kerrville. This is this is here. We were talking about this staff-wise today. This is probably similar to what other cities do, where the city attorney represents the 4B corporation.
Okay, but in that example you just gave,
Yes.
so what we're actually saying is we want to prepare for the possibility of suing our authorizing unit in the case where we
No.
would like to.
No, I don't think
What
that's
would we
fair.
be doing in a case like what you just described, where
Well,
council says we don't want to enter into that contract, but we as a board think we should?
Well,
Would
I don't.
we be doing that?
I don't know. That'd be up to you. I mean, that'd
But
be
I
up
mean,
to you.
in that how we'd be seeking outside counsel in order to essentially sue the city to pursue the contract we wish to sign. Is that not what we'd be doing?
Well, you know, you've gone kind of, you ratcheted up this scenario a little bit. I'm just saying at some point, if I did, and it might even be just discernment outside of a meeting, that I know council is not going to go along the path that you all are going, I could go to the president and say, I don't think council is going to do this, that there's going to be a conflict, and I'm going to withdraw as I would normally do under the ethics that I abide by. And then you all would decide at that point. I mean, it might not be suing the council. It would just be, and it might even be, you know, at that point, you all might say, well, I guess council's pretty entrenched here, whatever. They have a pretty set opinion. We're going to go a different path, or we're going to align ourselves more with them. That's what I'm talking about, George. I think it's simply
okay, suing
that.
may be a harsh word, but basically what we're saying is we want to prepare ourselves for the possibility, in one member's words, where we anticipate conflict with city. We want to prepare ourselves to be able to go get legal counsel to satisfy that conflict. Is that what we're saying? I mean, I guess that's not really a question for you, Mike. That's a question for this board, because that's what I just want to clarify that that's what we're doing, because that's what it feels like. I mean, it seems pretty clear that's what we're doing. I just wanted to make the statement, I guess.
So here's how I see it, George, just cut and dried. If he decides that he can't represent this board because of a vote we take, and there's a conflict caused by that vote, we have no legal representation. We have to be able to go get legal representation. And it would be completely Mike's decision whether there was a conflict there or not. And so what do you do if that does arise?
Yep, the only conflict that would be there for him would be in the case of this board choosing to do something that's in opposition to what he perceives council to want to do. So
Sure.
We're basically saying that we want to be able to hire outside counsel to protect ourselves against our authorizing unit, because we anticipate conflict in the future. I mean, just want to make sure that's what we're saying. I mean, I plan on voting for this just because. I'm just saying. I want to clarify that the action we're taking is
I have a
pretty
question.
antagonistic,
Let
that's
me ask
all.
Mike a question. From what I've gathered, just going back through the past projects, most of the projects, it seems to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, have been that people will come to the EIC, and then the EIC works with City Council for a funding agreement instead of the EIC, you know, issuing debt on its own. So my question is, the city, theoretically, if we go to them for a funding agreement and they don't like the project, they could say no and stop it. But could the EIC on its own issue debt backed by the 4B revenues? Because I think it's been done, I think there has been one issue several years ago. I think it was a $3 million issue that it looked like the EIC actually did that. I may be wrong, but I thought that's what I saw in some past on the city website. But you get where I'm getting at. I guess my question is, can the EIC do something on its own if it uses its own money, guarantees the bonds, you know, with its own revenue, and bypass city council?
No, you have to get council approval for anytime you want to expend funds.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why once you all approve a funding agreement, it goes to city council.
Thank you.
All right, before we leave it go, I guess I'll just ask, it was Mr. Wilson, so I just ask him, what's the conflict that he anticipates? He's pretty sure it's going to happen in the future.
I'd like to just interject here, if you don't mind, Kenneth.
Sure.
I feel like we're trying to rehash something that's really irrelevant to where we stand today. We have a great contract in front of us, and I think we have an understanding of what we're hoping to accomplish here, and I think it's been very well worded with some additions that are there, and I personally would just like to see us
move forward.
I would agree with that.
This is an annual contract, is that right? In other words,
That's correct.
every year we bring this.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd reiterate my question. It is moving forward, with all due respect. I'd like to know what conflict that we as a board are anticipating.
I don't know that we anticipate conflict, but there is always a possibility.
There is, but Mr. Wilson actually said we anticipate it. He was pretty certain
No, I
about
did
it.
not. I did not say that. I said, what I said was, in the event that we anticipate it. In the event we anticipate, I didn't say we anticipated. And don't say that I did, because I didn't. If you look at the minutes, you'll see that I did not.
Okay. I'll relook at the video, which I did. It says, we anticipate conflict with the city in the future.
I
and we
said,
want
in the
protection."
event we anticipate conflict.
I'll double check, and it said, we want protection, we want it now. So that's what we're.
And so this is precisely why I would like for us to just move forward, because we're mincing words here, so. I move that we approve the contract as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate your vote with the right hand. Any opposed, same sign. All right, that looks like it was approved unanimously. All right, move on to item number 5, which is executive session. And we are going to go into executive session. I'm looking for, we talked about going into executive session each month, correct? And so, I believe it would be under item 551.087.
And you could just include me, consultation with attorney, 071.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion. Move 551.071 and 551.087.
Yes.
We have a second? We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we will move into executive session.
We have to vote.
Well, I'm sorry, I skipped that part, my bad. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right,